welcome back to this tutorial. So for those of you who were on the session we had in the afternoon, due to network challenges, I had mentioned that I will be going through the tutorial again, just so you get better understanding of how to build AI powered APIs. If you're just joining us, this tutorial covers how you can build or use FastAPI to build AI powered solutions, right? So that you can have an abstraction layer that gets you to connect with APIs like OpenAI, Stream, Stability AI, Gemini, and so many other powerful AI solutions. So, like I said, this tutorial will be available. The code to this tutorial will be available on GitHub. You can feel free to copy and clone this repository. Well, if you check GitHub, this is the codelab 2 tutorial, and we have two sub tutorials in this particular section. So let me just go over what this is. So from the readme file, you can see my screen. This is the project structure. We have the API, the Hello API folder, and then we have the Open API, that the AI API 101. So basically, this would introduce you to the basic concepts of web development, right? Of API development, and then the second would introduce you to the concepts of AI powered development. The second tutorial introduces you to how to build a very basic AI powered API. So for this particular example, like you can see on my screen, we'll be going through we'll be trying to build a computer vision API that removes the background of an image using Stability AI. So we'll be connecting to Stability AI, and you will see how to build that solution. So just work with me. And yes, so this is for beginners, and yes, we can run this with UV con, and but I have made this tutorial simple, and I will go through that in a bit. So these are the libraries you would need. You will need the FastAPI framework, and then we will need to connect to Stability Fusion, Stability API AI's API on the background, and then of course we'll use requests to make those connections. And then yeah, that means we are going to, at some point, we'll have to get our API keys and run our API and just try to test it. So this is what we'll basically go through. You will find this code on GitHub. So let's just go quickly over the folders. So if you have access to this the GitHub, you will see I have an example code, or rather an example JSON file here. This is supposed to hold your Stability Fusion or Stability AI token. We'll get into that, but yes, so I'm not going to be showing you my config.json because it has my private keys there, and of course if you are familiar with GitHub, you understand why you don't have that in your file, because I have notified my git ignore to ignore that directory. So we will not be going through that particular directory. So let's go quickly over to the GitHub. So but before we, like I said before, just for those of you who don't have a background in FastAPI, this code might look a little bit complicated. So let me just create a new file and call it hello world. Let me call it hello world. So before we get into the basics, and then I'll just be pasting the code I have here, and yes, so then let me just go over to this, and then just to save time, I'll be copying this code to run it, and yeah, I'll be going over the details. So but for now, just stay with me, and Yeah, so what's happening here? So basically this is what it takes to create a very basic fast API, a Python API using FastAPI. So first you import the module, the FastAPI module, and you create an instance of this module, which is app, and then you use the annotation, this function decoration to get used to instruct it to use the get method. And of course this means that we're trying to access the root. So when you visit the root directory of this particular API, you will be you'll be getting the hello world message. So in order to run this, you can run this a number of a couple of ways. So you can run this set of commands on your terminal here, but I don't want to always be typing the code, and that's why I am using I'm just running it as a sub process using the sub process function, right? So that's why. So basically what this means, let me just explain. So we are using this Unicorn server, and we are saying we want to run main. This main is the main function. So in this case, since we are running a hello world app, we will change this to hello world without the Python. Sorry, hello world without the Python, and then app. This app is because we have app here. So, and yes, this might seem a little bit complicated. This is just talking about a cluster configuration. Unicorn, if you find tutorials online, you might see your first tutorial is executed most times with the vcon. So that is used for development process. Most times when you're trying to deploy a fast API to the real world, it's better to use Unicorn because it has more advanced features for to handle multiple nodes. And so basically we are trying to say we have 4 worker nodes, and I just want to just keep that detail for you. So yes, so we're trying to bind this. You can specify the directory, and we're saying that at all ports, at all, it's open to all, and then we want it to be open at ports 8000. So, and then of course we want automatic reload. So that's basically what this function is. If you want to know more details about this, you would need to read the FastAPI's documentation. So now that we have this, we have saved it, and we are ready to try running this. So let's just go to let me see, what directory am I in? Okay, so let me take a step back and get into the hello API, and then we can Python execute hello world, and once we run that, we should have our code running fine. Let me minimize this. So, and we can now open. Okay, yes, open this, and okay, so let me just open this here. So yes, you can see we have the hello world. We have our hello world running. It's running fine. And so this is our first. And if you go to the docs, yes, you can see that you have it. And like I was saying, so this is one very good thing with FastAPI. It allows you to be able to like try this out. So usually when you're using most solutions like Laravel, you have to simulate, or you have to go through a lot of process, maybe setting up a documentation on Postman, on tools like Postman to get your code running or to get to test your API. But FastAPI allows you to be able to do this on the go. So once you visit this, you can try out your API and execute and just test some commands. So once you run this, you can see that we also get in the response body, we have you can see we have the get method, we have the code, which is 200, which means successful. And then you can see so much information. You can make this rich. And of course, just to give you a very nice interface, if you want more sophisticated documentation, you can you can visit the redoc. So like I told you, there are very cool features about the FastAPI that gets you started very quickly. So I'm just trying to run this. Meanwhile, let's go back. It's taking time. Let me just, okay, please, why are you wasting time? show already. Why is this taking forever? That's not nice. So okay, yes. So you get, so this is very basic, but if you want a very sophisticated API response documentation, this is a very good. This allows you to have a very solid documentation, an alternative to what we have here. So that being said, now we can simply type in the Control C and end this execution. We're done with this particular execution. So this is a basic example of how the FastAPI works. So now that we have that, let's go to the main API or to our main file and then see a more sophisticated approach. So now in this case, we are defining the title, trying to modify the title, give it the description, have it a version. These are very good when you are these are good processes or steps to take when you are trying to work on an actual solution, right? To be able to track, follow best practice. So in this particular case, like I said when we were going through the demo in the afternoon, we are creating this list to simulate a database for us. And yes, so we are of course usually you're supposed to connect to a data like a MongoDB, Postgres Postgres SQL or MySQL or some other database. So but for storage. So but in this case we are connecting, we're also going to use a list to keep the process simple. And yes, unlike I want to kick you off on the right foot. So for those of you, like I was trying to describe, this works similar to TypeScript. So basically in Python you have Python defines variable types implicitly. So the value you assign to the variable will decide what the variable is. So for instance, because we have assigned an empty list to this will be treated as a list object or as a list variable. If we had assigned a string to it, this will be treated as a string, and like that. So but for APIs, as when we're trying to build or work with APIs, we don't want that to be the case. We want to be able to define this strictly so that if we want IDs and we're trying to pull by ID and we want IDs to be integers, in this case it's simple. Of course IDs might most likely be hexadecimals, which is a string. So but in this case, since it's a decimal, since it's an integer, if we don't want someone passing in a string as an ID and then it's going through, because that will break our system. We don't want to have to deal with that. So and then of course a name, we don't want someone passing in a number as a name or some other structure, data structure. So we want this. So basically we're trying to define it. So for this particular experiment, like you can see here, this is just trying to simulate an inventory demo where we would take an item. So what's an item? An item will have an ID, a name, a description, and then the description is optional. So you can see basically, so if you're not familiar with typing, you might need to check more on the typing library and see how it's used. You may have union, optional, and rest. So and then for price, float. So price, we want to be able to have the value. So price, we don't want numbers. So basically what it means is we expect that it should only take price as a number, as a value, which is a float that has decimal points, allows decimal points, and so much more. So this is basic. So basically use Pydantic to enforce this type. So basically this by simply doing this, FastAPI allows you to be able to easily just just specify that in your type or in your function type, and then by simply setting this, automatically this dictionary or this is converted, this is gotten as a dictionary, and every item you put in will be assessed in this manner. So I'm just trying to introduce you to high level. I don't want to I want to go deep into things like different types of parameters or parameter types for functions. So you have those you put in the body. I don't want to go into that detail. So but that is high level of what we have to do. So just like you see, so now we have defined the data model, right? And next, so the good thing is with Panda, you can actually even go further. Now this tutorial is very basic, but you can connect this to like databases. So this data model can be fed directly into MongoDB. If you have used Django, you understand the MVC model. Like you understand how so you can basically structure a database and easily use a library like SQL Alchemy to connect to different databases, and then easily just plug and play. Like they're very easy. Once you set up, once you connect the logic, most things are automatic. You don't have to, it helps you build and scale and handle a lot of things with ease. So if you want to go deep into this particular example, those features, that will be very great. So for this, so you don't have to get to do a lot of things manually. So for this, now we are saying on the root directory, we want to just print welcome to FastAPI, and then we are using a get method for that when we want to get items. So basically, when we do get items, we want to be able to get all the items that have been entered in the that have been passed into the database, and then where we have get we can decide to get an item by value. This returns all the items that have been entered, and then this returns the items that just the item by ID, right? So, and then of course in this you're passing it through the path. So this function of, if you look at this, basically it's just trying to check, okay, so is scanning through the database, the list, and then checking, okay, is the ID, is there a corresponding value for the ID? If yes, it should return. If not, it's not found, like that. So, and then same thing. So for posts, we're going to try all different request methods, right? So we are trying to get, then we have posts. So for post items, we'll be using it when we're trying to create an item. When we create the item, this is basically appending this item to our simulated database, and then we have put, where we're going to update the item. So the logic, if you are not familiar with Python programming, it might be better to step back and just take a look at what Python program, or how to program in Python. So basically this is a loop. So we're updating. We'll first find the item by the ID, and then we would update this particular we'll update the content. So, and then we'll have delete. So delete, we'll try to remove the item, and then you can see this basically does what this does to the item. So that's basically that. This is just a simulation of the CRUD. So they create, the read, update, and delete functions in a database, or in a typical software interaction with a database. So let's look at this. So if we're trying to run this, we will try to run, and let's get main. So to run this, so Python main. So the reason why you can run this with Python main is because I already have the code here. If you didn't have this main function here, you would have to like run this command with spaces, without the quotes in your terminal. So I'm just basically using subprocess to run. So basically this function runs commands that are supposed to be executed in terminal. So that's what I just want to explain, that's what's happening here, so you don't get so confused when you see a different example somewhere else. So once we have this, we run this, and yes, we have our API running at this port, and yes, let's just go back to this first. Yes, so we have welcome to FastAPI, and if we do this, okay, I'm not trying to use that, I'm trying to use this. So good. So when you come here, now we have something, we have a different, so you can see it even has the different function types or methods have different color code. So you have the get with the blue, and just to give you an understanding of how things are. And yes, so if you see, this is the root directory. So definitely when we visit the root directory, we get this. If we execute this, you can see it's the same thing we saw when we passed the URL into the root URL into the browser. So that being said, now we can cancel this and then minimize this. So if we get, of course we get, if we run get, if we try this and run get, we don't get anything, because we get an empty list, because our database, or our simulated database, is empty. So when we do this, now let's go to post and try to create an item. So when we try to create an item, let's just try this, and we'll set this value, say 1, say okay, so let me just say 1, and then this, let's call this a monitor, and then description, let's say an LED monitor. So once we have this, and we say price, let's say 100,000, let's say something like this. And then if we execute this, so good, so we have this as the we have the message successful, this was successfully created. And yes, so if we go back to get items and we try this, and we use 1 create, we run this, okay, we still have this error. This is a bug, this is not meant to be the case. Let's try, let me try to see why is it happening this way. So okay, so when we try to get an item, and okay, 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 this looks fine. Okay, I'll debug this. This is not the focus for this. I'll debug this before updating it to the code, right? I will debug this. I said I would debug it earlier on, but I have not debugged it, and it just came up again. So I will debug this before I run this. So, but basically, this is high level of what it is. So by the time I'm uploading the code, I will upload the updated version, the code that works. So yeah, so bear with me while we focus on what is the actual. So this is just a simulation of how you use a basic API. So how about our AI powered API? So for this case, I told you we are going to work with Stability Fusion. So yes, so let me just try to log in. So briefly, let me just end this. So end this, so we're able to like get into, let me clear this up, and then cd, okay, so good. So now we are in the right directory and we can run this. So let's so first of all, so you need to go to your account, right? Let me see. So this, you go to platform to create an account, go to platform .stability.ai. So stability.ai is a computer vision service, like AI service provider, and basically you will be able to have access to a lot of functionality. So you can generate images, which they have different models. You have the stable image ultra, stable image core, stable diffusion, and different models. And then you have different functions you can perform. You can have creative, so you can be creative, you can upscale images, you can, there are different modes. Conservative, so to be creative in your upscale, and then conservative to keep the original traits of the original video, just to preserve it and not try so much artistic integration into your image. So basically you can manipulate images at different in different styles. You can erase objects in images, you can in paint, you can outpaint, basically expand and add content to surrounding images that didn't really exist. You can remove a background, so you have a profile picture, or you have a picture and you want to remove the background, maybe change for various pipelines you can follow, you can use to get things done. Let's say you want to edit a background and change, so if let's say you want to edit a person and apply a different background. So you could maybe remove the background and then use in painting or out painting to change the background of the person, that making it neater and making it better, look better. So there are many things you can do with these pictures when you combine them. So you have this search and color and so much more, the 3D, the video. But for today's experiment, we'll be using the remove background, as simple as this. So then, you know that what next will you do? You get your API key. If you don't have an API key, you create one here. Create an API key. I won't be showing you mine. You create and copy that API key and paste it in your example, in your config. So you paste it here. The reason why I'm putting it in a separate file is because for security reasons, when you're building applications, I don't want you to see my API key, right? And you shouldn't post your API keys directly in the code. For code, it's best practice to just keep it secret. It's a secret key. It's a private token. So keep that, because that's what we will use to assess how much you are using and you'll be charged. So when you go to the billing section, of course, you can pay. So you can pay for credits. So you have you get 1,000 credits if you pay $10. That's very affordable. That's quite affordable. So you can try that. I have few credits here that is sufficient for me to be able to run this experiment. So that's fair. So if you want to add credit, or if you want to try that, you can use that. I want to just try to show you an example with this particular code. So that being said, so now we have credit. I have my API key. We can get back to code. So like I said, I have my code. I won't be showing you. I'm using the secrets. My code is in the secret directory. So I will not be showing you my actual JSON file. So that's why I provided this example JSON for you to be able to work with. So now that we have that, let's go to our API, OpenAI API. So we have a directory, services. So as we get deeper, you can see that I'm introducing more concepts for best practice. So when you're doing best practice, it's better to always have your logic in separate files and then use them. So for instance, in this particular case, we are not having so much lengthy code in the main function. We are just we have our logic for image remover on a different file, and then we're just importing it to use it. So you can see basically we just imported the function we need to use, which is the remove file, and basically what we are importing this module. So the FastAPI, the upload library. This is beyond the scope of this tutorial to go over why you need upload file and file. Basically this allows you to be able to manipulate files for APIs over HTTP requests. So these are functions that allow you to be able to, so because we are going to be working with images, we are going to be receiving an image from the API, and we are going to also be sending an image back, and that's why we need this and the streaming response. That's high level of what you need, and of course the bytes, because we want to be able to also visualize it. So these are just functions. If you want to know more about them, you can just try to run a quick query to ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Google, and you will get some information about that. I don't want to focus so much about that. I want to just show you what you can do with this API. So we are doing this because, of course, this is what we want to be able to do, and this is the type of media we want to be displaying. We are going to be getting. So I will go to the file, and then of course you are familiar with why we need this to run the API with ease, and then we are using the post API at this particular endpoint. So if you are trying to access this API, you will need whatever the URL is, whether it's www.samuelsapi or networksapi.com/. So this is the URL, and then of course you have this. So we'll be test running it to see how it works. This is basic breakthrough of how everything works and how you get to see your response. So now that we have that done, remember we are importing from the service folder, and we have the background. We have this background remover file. Basically, this is what we are going to explore next. So now when we go to the background remover file, we have this is a little bit clumsy. You can use relative links for this, but I have I've linked my function. Now you need to have let me see. I think this. Let me just use. Let me try to use the actual link so that. Okay, sorry. Yes, so this is let's try to work with this, and let's see let's see what we get. So this is a relative. I'm trying to use a relative link. Basically, we are pulling from requests, JSON, and then the upload file. Remember, this was so basically this is where my API key is found in this JSON file, and I'm calling it. That's what I'm basically what I'm doing here, calling it to assigning it to this key, and this key is being used in this request to the Stability AI API, which is, you can see the URL edit. We are going to edit, and then we are using the background, remove background. So this we are passing this image. We are not doing any of the logic on our system. We are basically making a call to the Stability AI's server, and then we are getting the response back. So we are sending the image name. This is the structure for how you send the file, and all this is available on their documentation. This is just a sample code. So we are pulling it, and this is the function. This is the remove background function that we are calling on the main file, and of course you can specify the type. So it must not be W, it must not be WebP. It can be PNG, it can be JPEG, but we're just keeping it simple to make it WebP. So let me just save this and try to run this file. I hope that the relative link works this time, because I remember during the earlier demo we had some issues. So let's just try to run this and see. So okay, so we have an issue with this, and I will try to run this. Let's see if I take this out and I save this. Do we have an issue? Okay, if I take this out and I run this, do we still have an issue? Okay, we have an issue. So let's see, ls. Okay, so if okay, so because I'm running from this directory, right? If I try currently from this directory, we have I'm in this directory. So if I step out, let me see, just give me a minute. ls okay, so if I have ls secrets, okay, so if I have this here, this should work. Okay, yeah, so we have this working, and yeah, so it was just a path issue or directory issue. So once we have this running, if we go to our main file, we see we have this working fine. And yes, if we go to the documentation, you see this is the same thing as running the root file. Yes, we can see the opened directory to run. And quickly I will just be running this to see what we get. So we'll be trying this out, and you can see that while we had the upload file and file modules, so when we pull from here, I'll just be picking a file. So let me just pick one of my favorite images, right? So just to keep it simple, so I'm using this particular image, and you can see clearly it has, although it has a plain background, it has some images. This was the same image I used in the experiment, but I'm just trying to keep it brief and run this. So so now that we have this, we select this and then we run, and when we execute this, we have a result. It's supposed to take, it's taking, I hope my internet speed is not what is delayed. So yes, so when you see, so the response, you have this here. And just to show you that it's not limited, for those of you who are watching I want to just try something else to show that it's not limited. It's not limited to which image do I use. Let me see. Okay. I'm trying to see which image I get to use. Okay. Trying to pick an image that is not that doesn't have any private persons. Okay, let me use this. Okay, no, this is this is not an actual image. This is if you're a person of interest fan, this is okay. Let me try this. Right, so this is yeah, so let me try this, and if I execute this, okay, we got an error. Okay, yeah, this error makes sense because now FastAPI has dimensions for what they expect for images. So it's good that I actually use this so that you see. Sometimes it's very good to see get this kind of errors, so that you see the limitations. So this is very important to understand. Now the resolution of the images you are sending to Stability AI needs to be within certain dimensions or pixels. So you see it. This is the mark. It must be at most this, and we sent a very large file. So this is an example. So this is an example of some of the issues you could have, and that's why that didn't work. So let me see if I can find an example. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay, let me just try this. So I'll still try this image, and let's see, hopefully this one works too, and let's see. It should work, of course. So this is just a high level overview of everything. Let's just get this good. Okay, why are we having an issue? Let's try to run this again. This seems to be a network issue. Failed upload. Okay, good. So now you have, that was a network issue. So now you can see I have my image fully extracted. So this works fine, and let me save it. I like this, so I'll save it. Yeah, I'll save it. So that's being said, this is just an overview of what you can do with these tools. Like I was saying, if you want to see more of this is not, yes, so if you want to get more more tutorials or more guide, I'll be working on a tutorial that will take you through this step by step. I will take you through this process step by step. So if you want to learn more about FastAPI, like I said, I have some articles that you can go through and get deeper insight. So if you want to, for instance, learn how to deploy FastAPI for free on Vercel, I have an article for that. If you want to be able to use the OpenAI's API to be able to extract data from things like CVs, resumes, I have an article for that. You can use that, and so much more. If you want to be able to use, if maybe you want to try out APIs from different places, you can use Hugging Face, like I said. I think I have, where is the article? Yes, I have an article on where's Hugging Face. Where is this? Okay, yes. So I have an article on that will get you started with Hugging Face. Hugging Face has a lot of open source models that you can easily download and connect to. You can basically use APIs to abstract a lot of uh, AI solutions. There are many models and many for different functions, for text, for images, for video, and you can get a lot of things done. So let me know. I want to see what you can build. There are so many cool things. Like for instance, in the Hugging Face, okay, not the Hugging Face, the Open AI's example. I tried to build a CV, a resume parser that extracts names, skills, emails, and things like that from a resume. So you can do much more, and I would like to see what you build with your AI as you are stepping into the space. If you are building AI solutions and you want to build AI powered solutions, basically you cannot really escape, especially if you're not trying to, you're going to go beyond just using AI tools. You cannot escape the use of API. So I want to see what you build with it. I hope this actually was helpful, and look forward to see what you can build. Feel free to reach out to me, subscribe to this YouTube channel, subscribe to this blog, and wait for look forward to more updates from me. Thank you. So have a good day and hope to hear from you.